You brought your new puppy home a few weeks ago and want them to grow up into a confident, happy dog, just like this photo shows. And that, of course, is the wish of many dog parents. But what you're noticing is that they seem to be sensitive and they tend to shy away from unfamiliar dogs or people or even objects. Um, and it's almost, you get the feeling that they seem to be scared of everything. And of course, you hope that this phase will go away once all the new things become familiar. But at the same time, you're worrying that something else, maybe anxiety, may be going on. Now, in this video, we're going to look at 3 telltale signs that your puppy may develop an anxiety problem later on, and then look at 3 tips to prevent this from happening. So let's look at the ideal and normal situation. The unknown is scary, and so it's normal for a new puppy to hesitate and shy away from things that they don't know in the beginning. They may cringe if somebody reaches out their hand to pet them, or they may spook the first time that they see a fire hydrant, and all those things are normal. Those reactions are normal because the brain has been programmed to consider safety. So it is much more intelligent from a survival point of view to assume that something known is safe and to assume that something unknown isn't safe. But as time goes by, and I would say about 2 to 3 weeks, then you start seeing the puppy's behavior shifting a bit. They start interacting more with people and other dogs. They start exploring the environment more. They don't spook as much when they see an unknown object, and they basically start acting more confident. So that is the normal course of things. But there are certain behaviors that persist long after those first few weeks of adaptation. And these behaviors are usually telltale signs that your puppy may develop an anxiety problem. So, one of them is the tendency to be very sensitive to new sights and sounds, which means that they will react with an exaggerated fear to something, a new sight or a new sound. For example, your puppy may try to run away the first time that they see a person with a walking stick. So instead of simply hiding behind your legs, they will actually try to get away from that person as quickly as they can, or they may hide under the bed the first time they hear strong winds or the first time they hear a thunderstorm. Now, this is normal. I mean, we're not expecting our puppy to never show fear, to never react to anything. But a normal, so to speak, puppy will have a strong bounce back. In other words, when they shy away from something, when they feel scared of something, they will recover very quickly. A puppy that is likely to develop anxiety later on doesn't have such a good bounce back. So they will remain hiding under the bed long after the thunderstorm is over and the wind has calmed down. Okay, so this is where you need to pay attention to. Like, is my puppy recovering quickly from a frightening situation, or are they taking a long time to recover from it? Another telltale sign is that your puppy actively avoids unknown situations and people. Now, a confident puppy may hesitate. They may approach and retreat, and then approach. So they hesitate, but eventually they approach. Now, a puppy that actively avoids unknown situations and people will really avoid them. They will do everything. They will hide. They will hide behind your legs. They will do whatever it takes to avoid that unknown situation or unknown people. So here's a couple of examples. Your puppy may take a long time looking at a new staircase before deciding to climb it. Another situation is they may hide for a long time when an unfamiliar person visits. They may even remain hiding all the time that the person is there and then come out of hiding only once the person is gone. The third telltale sign I'd like to share with you is that they are more sensitive to stress. So, in other words, your puppy can respond with exaggeration to a mild stressor, such as being in the almost empty waiting room of a vet clinic. Now, let's assume they've never had a nasty experience or negative experience at the vet, and so they haven't developed that fear. They haven't associated the vet with nasty things happening to them. So let's say it's the first time that you're taking your puppy to the vet, and the waiting room is basically empty, so it's a mild stressor because they can feel the smell of other dogs, and if other dogs that were there before were scared, then all those smells are left in the air, and so it is a stressor, but it's a mild stressor because there's only smells there. There's nobody else around. And so they may respond with exaggeration, for example, trying to like leave the clinic. Um, Another example is they take longer, or another trait is they take longer to recover from a stressful situation. For example, the overwhelm caused by a few dogs wanting to interact with a puppy at the same time. I mean, this is overwhelming because the puppy's small, and then there's these like 3 or 4 dogs wanting to smell them and play with them, just basically wanting to interact. And so this can be quite overwhelming to your puppy, but what happens with a confident puppy is that they may feel the overwhelm, but then they recover quickly from it, and they will actually engage in play with those dogs. Now, a puppy that's likely to develop anxiety will remain like once they've been overwhelmed by too many dogs wanting to interact with them, they will remain stressed out long after those dogs are gone. So that's the subtle difference. So things that you can do to help your puppy to prevent anxiety from developing later on. One of them is avoid allowing your puppy to be exposed to very negative events. Studies show that very young puppies who are exposed to negative events when their stress system is still developing tend to develop anxiety. They don't become as well equipped to handle stress as puppies that were never exposed to very negative events. So being alone during a thunderstorm is considered a pretty negative event. It's scary. I mean, a thunderstorm is scary depending on how severe it is. But if your puppy is alone, it's even worse. They sort of feel helpless. They feel that they have no protection. Being bullied by other dogs can be pretty negative from your puppy's point of view, especially if your puppy is smaller than the dogs that are doing the bullying, or if they're sensitive. So these are events that you should avoid exposing your puppy to. Then another important thing you can do to avoid anxiety is to engage your puppy in mental stimulation as soon as possible. Now, very often when we think of mental stimulation, we're only thinking of these puzzles and food dispensing toys. But mental stimulation is anything that engages your puppy's brain and their senses also. So the more the structures of the brain that are responsible for thinking and learning are activated, the less the body's alarm system is activated. So obviously, you don't want to stimulate your puppy to exhaustion, but you do want them to develop cognitive skills that will sort of put the brakes on anxiety. So here's a few examples of mental stimulation. You can engage your puppy in games of treasure hunt, where you can spread treats and mixed with their food on the floor. And this is great because they actually locate the food by their scent, not so much by their eyesight, because when objects are up close, the puppy doesn't see them clearly, okay? And then that's when they rely on their sense of smell to find the food. Another thing you can do is to play games of hide and seek with your puppy. Just disappear and start calling them, and they will locate you by your voice. So they'll be hearing their sense of hearing, they'll be using, sorry, their sense of hearing to locate you and also their sense of smell. Okay, then third tip I'd like to share with you is to associate unfamiliar people, unfamiliar dogs and situations with tasty treats. Nothing wrong with that, and it's easy, okay? So what you can do is you can give your puppy a few treats during the interaction with someone that they're meeting for the first time. Now, my suggestion is that you are the one who gives your puppy the treats, because if you ask the unfamiliar person to give them treats, you may unintentionally place your puppy in a situation where they have to make a forced choice. I really want the treats, but I don't want to approach you. So, in order to avoid this, what you can do is give them a treat. Let the person reach out to them and then give them a treat for that. If the person scratches their chin, then give them a little treat. You can, if you don't want to fill your puppy up with treats, you can actually break them in small pieces and just give them a small piece. So every time during the interaction with that person, you can give your puppy treats. So that way, they will start associating the unknown with good stuff. You don't have to use treats for everything. For example, you can also play a game of tug with your puppy the first time that they climb a staircase. So what you can do, you can actually guide them by the nose with a toy, and then once they climb up the stairs, then you can play with them. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please help us help other dog parents by subscribing to our channel. This will actually help YouTube send them here. So take care.